that He'd stir up that gift of faith that's in you to go even higher.
Amen.
Because that's what it takes to unlock this message. If you don't have the seed of faith, you can't receive all that Yahweh has in store for your life. And we've heard a lot about seed faith, haven't we? It's usually money. You need to give seed faith. But that's not what seed faith is. Seed faith is when you hear the word of Yahweh, it produces a seed in you called faith. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Yahweh, and then letting that seed grow in you. So that when the situation comes, and they will come, that it will not shake your confidence in Him. Amen? Amen. I want to show you where you now are and where Yahweh wants you to be. So will you go on this journey with me today? To go deeper into the word of faith. Now there are two words that have been translated faith. In the Greek, the word is pistio. Pistio. And it means to believe. That's the action of faith. To believe. In the Greek, the noun and verb which embody this concept have the same root, pest. But in English, they don't, do they? The word belief and the word faith don't even sound the same, does it? The verb refers to simple intellectual assent. I believe. I intellectually get it. Is that what faith is? I understand the facts. Is that faith? To the Greek it was. In Hebrew the word is amen. It's been translated belief, but it really means faithing. Faithing. Remember I told you we have to have a new word in our concept because we don't have a word. So we have to invent a word, and that word is faithing. Which means to support, to confirm, to be faithful, to trust. Hearing something and doing it. That's faithing. And that is born in the spirit, not in the mind. The spirit tells the mind to believe it. Do you see the difference? The other one is an intellectual assent. Oh, I get it. But in the Hebrew concept of faithing, the spirit tells the mind, believe it. How many of you know we need to be walking in the spirit, not in the soul? Amen. The soul is where our mind is. The soul dies. The soul knows not nothing at death. It's buried with the body. And it's not who we are. The spirit's really who we are. Amen. Are you listening to me? Amen. And the spirit ascends to that golden altar in heaven. When we die, we're separated from our soul and body and spirit. How many of you know that? Yes. And the spirit ascends to that golden altar, and we're in a prayer meeting. Amen. And what are we saying? O Lord, faithful and true, how long wilt thou not avenge our blood? How long? How long? How long? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it automatically is done in heaven. Amen. What a prayer meeting. What a prayer meeting. When we get into the concentrated presence of Yahweh, it causes us to fall on our knees and to begin to pray. That's why we bow when we say the name of Yahweh in our liturgy. It's not that we just want to bob up and down. We'd look pretty silly if that's all it was doing. But I watch. Did anybody see the State of the Union address? I did. And one side are the Republicans and the other side is the Democrats, and then you got a few handfuls of, they don't know what they are, so they call them independents. But did you notice, as the president is coming down the aisle, that everybody floods that aisle? Both Republican and Democrat, and they all want to shake the president's hand. They all want to touch the president. And I'm reminded that when someone comes of high stature in your presence, it's just natural to do a little bowing. We're not British. But if the Queen of England came in today, I would watch you. And you, oh, hello, Your Majesty. We fought a war so she wouldn't be Our Majesty. But pomp and circumstance does that to us. How much the kingdom, the King of all kings, the King of the whole creation, His presence comes in here today. And so when we sense that presence, we bow at that knee. Amen. Because why? Because I honor Him. I faith Him. I believe He is. And if I believe He is and His presence is coming in here, I want to say, oh, Your Majesty. That's why it says that Yeshua ascended to the right hand of majesty. That's really majesty. Don't fear Him that can kill the body, but fear Him that can kill the spirit and body. Are you hearing me? That's faith. That's faith. Do you believe in miracles? When I meet one, the doctor says, oh, you've got a disease that's incurable. I believe in miracles. Really? Did you believe in miracles yesterday? See, faith believes or faiths all the time. Help us to build our faith, Father. Faith faiths all the time. Let me tell you something. Most people think miracles just happen. They hope there's miracles. But they just happen, you know. Miracles don't just happen. People with Yahweh make them happen. You'll not find a miracle in Scripture after the creation of man without human being involved intimately. Once man was created, Yahweh involved man in His relation with that creation. There is always something for us to do in the miracle. There is always something for us to do in the miracle. So first things first. Why are you here? Why are you here? You mean here in this service today? No, no, no. Why are you here? That's what man wants to know. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Why I'm here? What is my purpose? Why did Yahweh create me? Have you ever thought, I wished I was never born? What an insult to Yahweh. Two years ago, a book came on strong. And many of you may have read it. I did. It was given to me. by a preacher friend. There was a lot of words on pages that said nothing. I couldn't believe the cotton candy I was reading. A Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. It sold 38 million copies. 38 million copies. Made this preacher that no one knew suddenly a household name, and so important that the president included him in his inauguration. 38 million people bought the Purpose-Driven Life. You know why? Because 38 million people had no idea what their purpose in life was, who they were, and where they were going. So they were hoping that book was going to tell them. There's only one book that has the answers, ladies and gentlemen. And if we study it from cover to cover, we would know our purpose and our destiny. Study to show yourselves approved, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. But we were hoping that that purpose-driven life was going to somehow be the Cliff Notes on life. And it wasn't. In Ezekiel 22:26 it says, "Your priests have violated my instructions and defiled my holy things. They make no distinction between what is holy and what is not." What was absent from the purpose-driven life was that it had no idea what the purpose in life was. It didn't say, get holy, return to the old paths, keep the word of Yahweh, and you shall live. It made no distinction from what was holy and what was not. And they do not teach my people the difference between what is ceremonially clean and unclean. They disregard my Sabbath days so that I am dishonored among them. Ezekiel 22:26. Don't you know, Rabbi, the Torah's been done away with, really? Is that what your pastor said? See, the Torah isn't what your pastor thinks it is. It's not what Rick Warren thought it was. Folks, the Torah is the word of life. Amen. Inside the word of life has the purpose of life. It tells you the difference between the sacred and the profane. Amen. Did I tell you faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Yahweh? Yeah. Whose commands do you guard? Almighty Yahweh, or the counterfeit kingdom of Babel? John 2:4 says, the one who says, I know him, and does not guard his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. Just a minute ago, we read this to you. Behold, a good doctrine has been given to you. My Torah, do not forsake it. Shaul, that the world knows as Paul, said this to Timothy. If you instruct the brethren in these things, you will be a good minister of Yeshua Messiah, nourished in the words of faith and of the good doctrine which you have carefully followed. 1 Timothy 4:6. What is that good doctrine? According to Proverbs 4:2, it's the Torah. Remember that the only scripture existing at this time was the Tanakh that the world calls the Old Testament. There's nothing old about it. But I give you a good doctrine Do not forsake my Torah. Here is your purpose. Nudge your neighbor and say, listen now, this is the purpose. This is the purpose. This is the purpose. And truly, indeed, this is the reason I have raised you up. This is why you're born. To show my power in you, and that my name may be declared throughout the earth. Exodus 9 and 16. So why was I born? To show my power, to show the power of Yahweh in my life, and so that I may declare the name of Yahweh to all the earth. So we are here to restore the reputation and the name of Yahweh to the earth. We are here to restore the reputation and the name of Yahweh to all the earth. Now you know your purpose. There's my message. Oh, you want a little more? I could stop right here, and you've got a message that you can chew on the rest of the year. Amen. But okay, I'll give you a little more. Please. He is Yahweh, Yireh, the one that stares at us. Yahweh Rapha, He is our healer. Yahweh Nisi, He's our banner. Yahweh Shalom, He's our peace. Yahweh Zedeknu, He's our righteousness. Yahweh Shammah, He is here. And Yahweh Ra'ah, He is our shepherd. Now that we know what our purpose is, what are we? What are we? You are the body of Messiah, and each one of you is part of it. And Yahweh has placed in the called out ones, first of all, apostles, second, prophets, third, teachers, then miracles, then gifts of healing, of helping, of guidance, and different kinds of tongues. 1 Corinthians 12, 27, and 28. So who are you? Who are you? The body of Messiah. Every one of you are part of the body. And the body is like an engine. Can an engine run properly with a missing part? Yahweh looks at us corporately first and individually last. Let me say that again. Yahweh looks at us corporately first and individually last. Yom Kippur is about corporate atonement. Passover is about individual atonement. There are many parts, but one body, 1 Corinthians 12 and 20 says. If everyone does what they're supposed to do, the engine works. If every one of you does what you're supposed to do, the congregation works. If every one of you does what you're supposed to do, the kingdom works in your life. A human being is part of the whole called by us the universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts, his feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affections for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to enhance all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. You know who said that? A Jewish guy called Albert Einstein. He's a pretty smart man, wasn't he? Not just about relativity, but about relatives. We're all relatives in the family. I thought it was interesting because in the New York Times, suddenly they just came to the realization, scientists have proven there is no such thing as race. When you actually read the article, what it said is that genetically, we are all one race. We have different types, but there's not a multitude of races because there's no genetic difference in us. We all descended from one family. Who would have thunk it? Isn't that what the Bible said? Isn't that what the Bible said? Didn't the Bible say that we all came from one family? And now the scientists are just getting on board? That would have stopped a lot of hurt feelings, wouldn't it? Because the distinction of race in our minds have caused a lot of pain. Raise your hand if you understand it. We are all Adam and Eve's children. We are all Adam and Eve's children. We're part of one family. Now, we're the body of Messiah. The body is the called out ones. The head is Messiah. Hello? The body are the called out ones. The head is the Messiah. If we're all part of one family, the whole family can get in on the benefits of being family. But when you leave the family and you won't participate in the family, you don't get the benefits of the family. When you cut off a finger, will that finger live? Huh? If you cut off this finger, will that finger die or live? It'll die and begin to decay, won't it? Will that kill the body? Nope. The body will still live, won't it? We'll just be missing a finger. That'll just go to people if you get a job at a fast food market. But that body will still live. We'll miss that finger. Sometimes we'll even have shadow feelings, like the finger still is there. A friend of mine he has diabetes and they had to amputate his leg from the knee down. Man, he had a good handle on that. He's very positive. But it did cause him to seek Yahweh's face a little deeper. I've watched that. But he was saying the other day, he said, my foot was itching, and I went to scratch it, and it wasn't there. Shadow feelings. He was missing his foot. And his mind missed it so bad that it sent back a signal as though it was still there, that it itched. Ladies and gentlemen, you only hurt yourselves when you cut yourself off from the family. Are you hearing me? The body of Messiah is the called out ones. He's the head. From where do we get our orders? From the head. So if we, the kingdom, is going to get revelation, inspiration and direction, we must be connected to the body, and the body has to be connected to the head. How many of you know that? How can we live the Torah to the fullest? Then the king will say to those who are at his right, "Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom which has been prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you covered me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then those will say to him, "Our righteous master, when did we see that you were hungry and fed you, thirsty and gave you drink? And when did we see that you were a stranger and take you in, and that you were naked and covered you? When did we see you sick and in prison and come to you?" The king will answer and say to them, "Truly I say to you, inasmuch as you have done it to the least of these of my brothers, you did it to me." That's how we live the Torah to the fullest. Amen? That's why I started this service praying for those that weren't with us today. Because my mind went to those that would like to be here and can't be here and miss being here. Now, yes, they can be connected by the internet. That's a wonderful thing. But oh, they long for the fellowship of fellow believers. They long to be able to touch the rest of the body and make sure they're still connected. No man's an island. No man wants to be lonely. Amen? If you're out there alone, you're a maverick. Not belonging to a fellowship. You have the opportunity, but you're not. Then you're outside the camp. You're not connected. So you're not receiving the revelation, inspiration, and direction that Yahweh has for you because you're in rebellion. Now, if you're out there because you can't find, like Abraham struck out to find that city whose builder and maker is Yahweh, that's one thing. You're not in rebellion. You're seeking. But I'm talking about the one that leaves the body, disconnects from the body, and tries it on his own. Now, you're the body of Messiah, and each one of you is a part of it. 1 Corinthians 12 and 27 says. Here's what Yahweh says. "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my appointed festivals, the appointed festivals of Yahweh, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies." Did you notice that you can't even keep Yahweh's appointed days without being part of the body? You have to go and find the part of the body and assemble with them. Did you see that? "These are my sacred assemblies. There are 6 days which you may work, but the 7th day is the day of Sabbath rest, a day of sacred assembly. You are not to do any work wherever you live." So if you were an astronaut and you went to Mars and the 7th day rolled around, would you still be obligated to keep the Sabbath? According to that, it says that wherever you live, you're supposed to stop on the 7th day and worship Yahweh. That'll take a little longer because Mars is in a wider orbit around the sun. So days come a little longer on Mars. But still, if you live there, you're to keep the Sabbath day. It's the Sabbath to Yahweh, Leviticus 23 and 1-3 says. "If anyone turns a deaf ear to my instructions, even their prayers are an abomination. Did you hear that? If you don't give heed to the Torah, to include Leviticus 23, 1 through 3, even your prayer is an abomination. Let us consider, that's Proverbs 28, 9, by the way. Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together. How can we spur one another on towards love and good deeds? Number one, don't give up meeting together. Now here's the question. Why should we care? Why should we care if you're spurred on? Because if the body doesn't function, the body gets sick. So if we want a healthy body, we will take care of the other body members. See, if the mouth isn't bringing in the nourishment, what happens? Get sick. What if we only ate cotton candy? Somebody said rotten teeth. That's the least of your worries. Other things will be happening in your body long before your teeth rot out your head. Because cotton candy, kids, is not nourishment. But it tastes good. It tastes sweet. That may or may not be good. But a steady diet of candy will not cause a healthy body. If the hand is slapping the face all the time, that's not good for the face. It'll bruise it. And ultimately, it'll cause lesions. And those lesions will get infected. And there we are. Are you hearing me? If you don't walk, if you just refuse to walk, what happens? Your legs begin to atrophy. Ultimately, you won't be able to walk. And then you'll have to relearn to walk if you ever want to walk again. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? It is to our benefit as the body for us to spur each other on to love and to good deeds. Not giving up meeting together. Why is it important for us to meet together other than that it's a commandment of Yahweh? Because you encourage me. It's a pep rally. I heard Tony and Geraldine's voices come around that corner. And I got all excited because I hadn't seen them so long. They've been out. And those of you who don't know, Geraldine's sister was promoted into the presence of the Father. And so it's good to have her back in service and with her loving husband right by her side. Well, they'll be by each other's side later. But just the sound of a voice of part of the body I hadn't seen in a while encourages me on to love and good works. Do not give up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. You know what gets me? Have you ever noticed? You'll hear Christians always say, "Oh, Jesus could come at any time." Anytime. You don't know in the next minute he could come and we'd be all raptured out of here. And you're going to be left behind because you're still under the law. But if that's true, how come they're canceling Sunday night services? It says don't give up meeting together, and all the more as you see the day approaching. If they really believed that the day was approaching, should they meet more together? Not cancel services, but have more services. Just saying. That's just an observation of me. Should live what you preach. That's from Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. If your purpose is to be a vital part of the body of Messiah and to fulfill your role in restoring the name of Yahweh in the earth, then what happens when you do not know your role and do not fulfill your true destiny on the earth? That's a vital question, isn't it? If you're just living for yourself, you're part of the walking dead.
Amen.
Not fulfilling your role, not fulfilling your destiny. You're just going through the motion, and you're dead inside.
Amen.
The last thing the adversary wants you to know is that you have a purpose. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were formed, I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Now, Yahweh said that to Jeremiah. Now, wait a minute, Rabbi, I'm not a prophet. Really? What did Yahweh say? This full message of the kingdom must be preached in all the world, then the end will come. Just as Jeremiah 1 and 5 informed Jeremiah of his purpose, Matthew 24:14 tells you your purpose. You are to go out and preach this full message, the Torah and the testimony of the kingdom, so that the end may come. If you want Yeshua to break forth those eastern skies and bring us our angelic horses so that we can usher in the kingdom with him, I like to be on the winning side, then you will preach the full message of the kingdom to whoever the Holy Spirit brings to you. Yes, you're a preacher and a prophet. The prophet says, thus saith Yahweh. And Yahweh has called you to say, thus says Yahweh. Repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Are you hearing me? So, are you fulfilling your destiny? Where are you? Where are you? Are you fulfilling your destiny? Are you faithing? The chain is broken when we seek our own way and not the way of the kingdom. The only thing keeping the boat from drifting is that chain attached to the anchor of your soul. The only thing keeping you from drifting is that chain anchored to the anchor of your soul. Because Yahweh wanted to make the unchanging nature of his purpose very clear to the heirs of what was promised, he confirmed it with an oath. Did you hear that? Yahweh did this so that by two unchangeable things, the oath and the promise, in which it is impossible for Yahweh to lie, we who have fled to take hold of the hope set before us may greatly be encouraged. We have this hope, the oath and the promise. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. Hebrews 6, 17 and 19. Yahweh is unchangeable. That's the hope I can anchor in. Are you hearing me? Hebrews 6, 17, 19. We're responsible for each other, to encourage one another, that we are still attached to that anchor of our soul, the oath and the promise. Brothers and sisters, if someone's caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. Not uncovering their nakedness, but restoring that person gently. How would you want to be treated if it was you? Carrying each other's burdens like it was your own sin. And in this way, you'll fulfill the Torah of Messiah. If anyone thinks there's something when they're not, they deceive themselves. See, if the hand thinks it's everything, then it deceives itself. If the finger thinks it's everything, it deceives itself. Nobody ever had a beauty contest for a finger or a hand. They want the whole body. They want to judge the whole body. Well, how much more do we understand that it takes the whole body? If a part of the body is sick, then the whole body needs to go in to a healing mode. Amen? Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in this themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. For each one should carry their own load. Nevertheless, the one who receives instruction in the word should share all good things with their instructor. Galatians 6, 1-6. We're all in this together. Are you hearing me? It takes everything for a body to be whole. It's the Torah that keeps us safe. It's the wall around us of protection. And the Torah says, love your neighbors as yourself. Love each one of the body as yourself. If you break through that fence, you're on your own. So, what's missing in your life? What's missing in your life? The goal is for you to share the works of Yahweh, what He's done for you, and to proclaim the name of Yahweh to all the earth. To proclaim the full message of the kingdom to all the world, then the end may come. So what's missing in your life? You're the missing part. We need you. Look at your neighbor and say, we need you. We need you. I can't live without you. You are made by Yah and for Yah, and until you understand that, life will never make sense. You are made by Yah and for Yah, and until you understand that, life will never make sense. I'm not worth it. What? I said I'm not worth it. Ephesians 1:5-6. According as He has previously chosen us in Him before the foundation of the world, that we might be set apart and without blame before Him, and in love, as that before our beginning for Himself, and adopted or manifested us for sons in Yeshua the Messiah, as was agreeable to His will, that the glory of His grace might be glorified, which He poured out upon us by His beloved One. Ladies and gentlemen, you're worth so much that Yahweh sent His only begotten Son to rescue you. That if you had faith in Him, you would not eternally perish, but have everlasting Sabbath life in Him. When are you going to look into the mirror and see the signs? Every single day, he lets us look into a mirror. The word, James or Yaakov says, is like a mirror. That if we forget what is in the word, we're like a man that when he turns away from the mirror, we forget what we look like. Every day he gives us the opportunity to look in the mirror so that we can remember what we're supposed to look like. Amen? Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourself. Do what it says. Faith it. Faith is hearing and doing. All that you have said we will do and hear. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. James 1, 22 through 24. Every day we have the opportunity to look in the mirror. So we can encourage our faith. Faith comes by hearing. If we want to build our faith, we build it by reading more word and getting more word in our spirit. Are you hearing me? With every physical action, there's a spiritual reaction. For every spiritual action, there's a physical reaction. If there's a problem, it's inside you. Behold, the kingdom of Yahweh is within you. Luke 17:21. See, for it to be manifested in the earth, it's got to get into the spirit of the saints. You've got to have the kingdom in your spirit before you can enter the kingdom. Amen? Yahweh says, fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds. In Deuteronomy 11:18. Fix these words of mine in your hearts and in your minds. Because the kingdom is within you. That's why we do that. Fix these words. How do you fix them? You memorize them. I've spent my life memorizing Scripture. Many of you, I've talked to you during a time of trouble, and you'll notice I just apply word. Quote scripture to you so that it's in you. Why? Because it's in me. It's fixed in my heart and mind so that it comes up when I need it. The Spirit brings it to remembrance. He can't bring into remembrance what's not in your memory. You're not going to have it in your memory if you haven't fixed it in there. Amen? Now, next week, we're going to find out, how do I get the kingdom within to manifest in the earth? Amen? Amen. Stay tuned. Same time. Same place, next week, and you're going to find out how to get the kingdom that's within you to be manifested on the earth. Amen? Let's stand. Robert, he's going to be making copies for you. I only got to the first 2 pages of the message, so you can study those first 2 pages. It takes me a little while to build this into your hearts, to fix it in your mind and your heart. Amen. Father, we thank you that you've given us the opportunity to share in your kingdom. Thank you for the word that builds faith in us, that you have commanded us to study that word. Meditate on it. so that our meditations are acceptable. If we are meditating on your word, that's most acceptable. Fix it in our hearts and minds. Build our faith. Cause us to act. In Yeshua's name. We praise you and honor and glorify. And we all say, Amen. Are you hungry? The humble will eat and be satisfied. Those who seek Yahweh will praise him. May your hearts live forever. Baruch atah Yahweh, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei minei mazano. Baruch atah Yahweh, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'adama. Baruch atah Yahweh, Eloheinu melech haolam, sher hakol niyeh bidvaro. Which means, blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the universe, who creates various kinds of sustenance, creator of the fruit of the earth, by whose word all things came to be. When you have eaten and are satisfied, you shall bless Yahweh your Elohim for the goodly land that he's given you, says Deuteronomy 8 and 10. Amen. Let's eat. Amen.
I know.
But I'm just surprised when I say your whole name. No, I remember everything.
You did a good job. Thank
When
you.
you get Emunah to show us what to do from here.
Okay, I don't know either.
Video camera, because she knows.
Yeah, okay, I'll tell her.
I mean, I can turn the thing off, but we have a
I think you have to finalize it first.
Yeah, so we better get her to do that.
Thank you. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you for the sermon, it's good.
Thank you, sweetheart. Love you.
Love you too.
I sent Joel a message I miss him.
Yeah, he's not feeling well, kind of like from last month, similar. So he took a pill and he got a headache from all that. So.
Yeah, Emunah had a migraine last week.
Yeah, that's what he had too.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna have to wait till Gerald's here. I need 2 copies of today, but
Yeah, Emunah will come in a minute and take care of the camera.